In this episode of The Unfinished Cubby, we have something a little bit different. I'm
not that different. Okay.
Very pleased to welcome my wife, Angel Goulter, to the program today.
Thanks for having me, Kris.
Thanks for joining me. Cheers.
Cheers. Kombucha. Kombucha cheers.
Kombucha cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Angel and I have just started a year of not drinking. We did that once a few years back, and there were benefits to that. And we've had a couple of years of definitely drinking since then.
Yeah, I think we more than made up for a year of abstinence.
So we're doing this. I think the reason for this, I wanted to interview you at some point anyway. Imagine it being a regular thing when this was the show. Remembering to talk there so it picks up the audio okay. But you sent me this link which will be in the show notes, and I'll encourage anyone to check out. And it was really a transform your life, transform the world with this very simple kind of practice, which essentially was just an hour meditation. And so I thought a few things. First of all, I wanted to talk about it. Also, we're going to start doing it tomorrow. And I thought we could do another one in like
a follow-up of
in a year
what's
or something.
Changed.
And see what we're like then.
I reckon even in 3 months.
Yeah. Well, because he explicitly said in the thing, you won't remember what you were like. And so
sure.
you want to look back at so that was part of what put the idea in my head there. And there was one other reason related to that I thought this was a good idea to do this, but that's gone. So that'll be in there. Now, I was going to say a thing that appealed to me about the meditation that he suggested was that you just watch the show.
I love that.
Yeah.
I haven't quite heard it presented in that way before.
Yeah. No, meditation for me has always been like this, like whether it's accounting or a TM you're doing, like you've got a mantra or a Vipassana or body scanning or various things. And so you're kind of always getting it wrong. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I didn't do that. Oh, back here. It's like training your mind with like a whip or something. And it's really hard.
I don't know about a whip.
Or whatever.
Maybe that's in your mind.
But it is. It's a reminder of how like sloppy, poorly trained your mind is, because it keeps wandering off into these thoughts instead of. That is what.
Well, my experience with transcendental meditation is that the more you do it, the less your mind wanders, because there's less like stuff to sift through, kind of a thing. And there's more of that just being in that observer moment. Not for sustained periods of time. But there's definitely been long moments, and then I've kind of caught myself going, oh wow, I've like not been thinking anything. I'm like,
that's when you've got a practice going on though, right? When you're doing it daily or something. Yeah. Which is what we're going to start doing.
Yeah.
Which I haven't done very much. But we used to some years ago, do you remember?
Vaguely. That was really nice. Is that in the mornings that we would do that? I kind of remember or maybe that was just the one time, like on the trampoline, or sitting like back to back.
Oh yeah.
But I think maybe it was more than the once that we would do that, sitting back to back.
I don't think we were hugely, like we kind of did it for a little while, but we weren't hugely disciplined. It kind of faded away.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of this being every day, early in the morning.
And I can already feel the resistance. Like an hour is a long time.
And as of next week, it'll be publicly out in the world that we've started.
That we have to. Yeah. All right. The world is gonna hold me accountable.
Exactly.
Ugh.
So these are a couple of things. So I said I wanted to talk to you because I did, for the first time this year, a Vipassana meditate on Sunday afternoon, because there's a group that sits every Sunday at the hospital, and I joined them. I was doing that for a little bit 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But this is the first time this year, and possibly in more than a year. And that's an hour.
Was it even like pre-COVID that you would have been there last time? Yeah. So that's a year and a half.
I did do one remote COVID one. They did like a Zoom one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. But literally it's one.
Does it count?
Was it? I think it counts. So I wanted to share with you and with the listeners from when I sat yesterday. Man, my brain was so busy. It was just like, like just non-stop. But and first it was all about this one particular work thing that I'd actually been spending time on just before I went to, and there's a major project at the moment, and then after it was on that one for a while, then it went on to my other major work project that's going on, and then it I thought about Granny for a little bit, and that I should do a podcast with her and talk with
definitely.
her. And anyway, there was just so much, mostly the work. I'm thinking about the kids and how I wish I was a better father and stuff like this. And it was so much. I can't handle this anymore. I want the thoughts to stop. And I thought about like what is it? Electroconvulsive therapy, where you're given a jolt and your brain just stops, right? That's quite an effective treatment. And I was just like, that's what I felt like I wanted.
Effective treatment for like meditation substitution.
Well, here's the thing. Wait. No, stay with me. Like that's what it was. It was like I was overwhelmed. I was like, I can't handle these thoughts anymore. I'm still gonna. And I was like, I would be drinking normally now. Yeah. I would be quieting and pushing all these things away with drinking.
Distraction.
Yeah. And in Vipassana, the terminology they use, they talk about, so I'm going to tie kind of Western psychology terminology with Eastern meditation, Sanskrit stuff. There's your sankharas, which is your karma, right? So you've got your karma, and there's all these things piled up, and they call them your sankharas. And basically you're sitting there and they're presented to you one after the other, and then it's there, and then if you don't remain attached to it, then it's gone. And then you eventually work through, and then you've got all your past life ones and things like this. And that's what the Buddha did when he sat down under the tree, is he just, all his sankharas kept coming, and then he worked through all of it, and then all his past life ones, and he got to the bottom, and it's like, then you're ascended. Free of the cycle of rebirth or whatever. But I went, these sankharas are just like the things that have happened in my day that cause me stress, that there's an emotional something stored in my body in there, and it's like, that's there. And like, I don't think I like worked through all of them, but I went through some and moved, and then there's other stuff underneath, right? And I've never quite thought about my thoughts and stresses, which do have emotional things, as these, as say like karma that but yeah, I've been aware in the last year and a half when drinking of going, I know I'm just like not dealing with some stuff in this. But yeah, like got to like really feel what that was, that was all like there. So I think that was the thought that I wanted to share, because then that video that you sent today, she seemed to be, and I can't remember exactly what kind of terms he used, but it seemed to be talking about the exact same thing of basically it's there.
Yeah, he's kind of talking about loving the things that arise,
right.
and not in the sense of like, oh wow, I love that, but just like allowing it to be. Yeah, which I liked. Removing the judgment on having thoughts or having feelings, and just like watching the show, being that observer. I'm kind of reminded of Eckhart Tolle's trick of like saying, I wonder what my next thought will be. And you get like this glimpse of nothing, because you're like waiting for the thought, like you're just observing and being the observer. There's like,
right.
Yeah, I don't know, that's a cool trick to,
because you're kind of ahead of your brain.
Yeah.
Nice.
Kind of waiting for something to come up rather than controlling it or something. I don't know. Yeah, I liked that, just being with whatever it is. And someone in the audience had asked him, that he could spend half an hour of his mind going somewhere else, thinking about something, and then he remembers suddenly that he's meant to be meditating, meant to be, and like, is there actually any benefit, and is he doing it right? Because he could be thinking about all those things sitting at his desk. And that obviously he's got a judgment on those thoughts as he's doing it wrong.
That's what I'm excited about, and that's what I was going to say, because Vipassana is an hour, and man, that was a long hour. And but it was also like the whole time I'm like, I'm just thinking. So the idea of just going, all right, just allow it, just watch it, that feels a lot easier.
Just being with it. I really loved that concept he brought up about that old adage of what you don't like in other people is because you see it in yourself, and I thought that would resonate with you as well. That when you can be with that stuff in yourself and not have judgment on it, and just observe it and love it and allow it, and then it goes, like there's no, it's not his words, but there's no like hooks, then when it displays in other people, that you don't have the reaction, you don't have the, oh God, that person really irritates me or whatever. Because if you can be with it in yourself and accept it, then you can accept it in other people, and you don't have the reaction or the attachment to wanting them to change and be different.
And I really liked how he demonstrated that as well, and I won't say it because the listeners will then have to watch that video to find out
what you're talking about. I thought that was cool.
I did have a funny moment though, because I was thinking about it, and I passed the police, and I thought about how strongly I feel
an emotive reaction
towards the police, and I was like, because I think generally speaking it attracts a type of person who's like violent and
like the people that want to are motivated to or drawn to that
and
profession.
Want to have power over people, and and I went, oh, is that in me? Is that but then I kind of went, oh, it's not quite the same thing. I'm saying I don't like the police, not that I don't like violent and people that are using power over things. So
you dodged that one. Nice. Nicely done.
So
wait till tomorrow morning. You've got an hour to sit with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, that thing. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Did you want to talk about work-life balance stuff? So we can. It's totally up to you. We can make it like a really short one.
Give me some prompting questions.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't even know where to go. It feels kind of weird and contrived to talk about our lives
with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you up to after this podcast?
I'm going back to my 2,250 word reflective essay, which I'm about 200 words in, but I've got a couple of days to get it finished. A couple of all-nighters. Yeah, I don't know about a work-life balance for me. I kind of go hyper-focus for days at a time and smash out 2,000 words. I can't really get the time management thing, just doesn't really work for my brain, I think, of like scheduling. If I do 300 words on this day and work on it over a couple of weeks, then my experience, although it's probably only really happened once in high school, of like actually spreading out an assignment to get it done in little chunks over, rather than staying up all night the night before. I did very poorly in that assignment.
I'll never do that again.
I'll never
the rest of my life.
Responsible time management ever again.
But that's learning.
I learned my lesson. Yeah.
Cool.
And look, it works for me. I'm a high achiever. And
you do get everything done.
Yeah. And I think I do my best work under pressure. It's interesting as I say that, I think of like actually how I respond under pressure in certain situations is I just completely freeze up. But when there's like time deadline, the risk of not doing well is my motivation. And but I do procrastinate so badly, and it's like I need that stress to actually get off my ass,
motivate,
and do the work. Yeah.
How do you shut that other stuff off and be present with the kids? Because you're better than I am at that.
What do you mean? What?
Well, just you've got an assignment going, you've got this on, but you're completely there with the girls when you're doing stuff with them.
I guess they're just my priority, and I don't know, that comes really naturally to me to be present with them. But like if I know that I need that time to get the assignment done, that's a massive stress for me. Like if I'm writing something and Ra comes in and wants me to get a food or whatever like that, breaking that flow.
There's something about that priority, isn't it? Like, this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And then anything else is a problem.
Yeah.
Because, if I'm like, all right, I'm spending time with the kids now, but I check work email, then I resent that intrusion into there.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Do one thing at a time. And know what the priority is. I've noticed feeling a different relationship to work now that I'm starting study too. It feels a lot more, it feels simpler and in the flow because it's not like, it's because it's less of a focus.
Yeah.
So when it's there, I just do what needs to be done. I don't know. We're pretty early days into that. This being the first.
Do your listeners know yet that you're?
No, I don't.
Studying?
No.
I'm not going to do a big announcement about that.
No, it's not. too much about me. So a little about me. I don't know, but
I thought it might have come up in your other interviews.
I don't know, but yeah, no. So I've decided to start studying. Thanks for asking me. Social work. I've always been interested in studying sociology and psychology, and those are bundled into that degree. And someone present in this room suggested recently that I'd actually even consider doing full-time study. And so,
what a crazy person.
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
Chocolate.
Sure, yeah. I just want to jump into something completely random. Kamala, when I spoke to her the other day, she said, I just had a little thought about, you say it's about work-life balance. And I said, yeah, that's the phrase that people use.
Your podcast?
Yeah. Excuse me. And she said, I just thought that's a really interesting contrast, because you can talk about work and play, or you can talk about work and family, but to talk about work and life, it's like work is not part of life, which I thought was actually a really good point. And yeah, I think in some ways that's often quite true for me, actually. And I wonder, I guess that phrase does suggest that. Yeah,
my mind goes to your like that mindset that you have, that you have to do work you don't like in order to live. Yeah, that also is a very clear separation. Like, you have to do work you don't like in order to do this other thing.
This podcast is my personal journey of like transcending that thought process, I think, too. Yeah.
Cool.
Did you want to talk about anything in particular? Do you want me to ask you about anything in particular?
No.
When we first talked about this podcast about a year ago, not quite a year ago, do you remember? Driving up to Normanton?
Yeah.
You were talking about the way you had come to clarity about the different aspects of your of the foci of your life. Was it 3?
3 purposes.
I can only think of 3. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You mean about like the shamanic journey?
Yeah, do you want to share about that? You had a clarity that I thought was fantastic and worth sharing.
Yeah, wow. So it was during a course called the 4 Seasons Journey through the School of Shamanic Womancraft with Jane Hardwick Collins. And yeah, part of that 4 Seasons Journey was a wilderness solo, like a vision quest kind of a scenario where we come together as the group of women. We spend a few days talking and sharing our life stories. We each get a turn of uninterrupted time where we just speak whatever we feel whatever arises about our life. And in doing so, we get to be witnessed, be heard, and also hear other women's stories and all the connections, the similarities. And it's amazing the love that you, and empathy that you can have for people that you don't even, like, you wouldn't necessarily associate with or talk to in everyday life. But yeah, you have this just absolute love for them when they tell their story. And that just sort of stirs all the stuff up for you to then go away into the wilderness. You choose a campsite away from everyone else, and you do a water fast. So that's all you intake is water for 3 days and 3 nights. And yeah, during that you just kind of sit with yourself and with whatever arises, kind of like this meditation that we're going to do for an hour, but for 3 days and 3 nights. And you're not meant to distract yourself by or whatever you
digging holes or something.
Yeah. For me, it was, I decided that I really needed to get all the bark off this really long piece of wood. So I spent a long time with a little pocket knife, just kind of chipping away. And it's like, once I get done this stick, then I will like really sit with myself. Won't distract myself. And then, you can spend a lot of time like finding the right kind of firewood that you need for your fire. And it's interesting. But yeah, 3 days and 3 nights is long enough for you to run out of things to do when you're just sitting in the wilderness and not eating. You don't really have the energy to kind of go into anything like climb trees. But you take the medicine drum that you made at a previous gathering with you, and you're encouraged to drum the sunrise or sunset, and you can kind of hear the other women also on their wilderness solos drumming at the same time. And it's this really lovely kind of, oh, that's right, I'm not alone. There's these other women that are going through their own journeys and their own processes with me, alone together. Yeah. And so the spot that I had chosen was a bit of a clearing, and in the middle was this burnt out tree. So a fire had gone through a few years before, and there were a lot of trees that were still, all charcoal. And this one had been, the top had completely burnt away, and it was like a little cave. And you looked up, it kind of came to a point where you couldn't actually see through the top. And there was this perfect sort of like a place to sit in the middle of it. So I could climb in there, and I decided that would be the place where I would drum journey myself. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. So I don't know what the acoustics were doing in there, but I heard all kinds of different things. I heard like a didgeridoo playing. I heard like angelic choirs. At one point I could see, with every beat of the drum, this rainbow spectrum pulse in my eye. Like I had my eyes closed. But yeah, with every beat was like this pulse of like a aurora borealis kind of thing. It was really incredible. And yeah, so during the one journey, there were 3 kind of distinct guides or the mini journeys. And the first was an Indigenous woman. She was an older grandmother, and she had this red, like a bandana scarf thing around her head. And she I was asking her about my purpose, my life purpose, and she just kind of laughed at me and was like, you get to decide that. That's whatever you want it to be. That's the point. You decide, and then you go do that thing, and you can't get it wrong. But yeah, I don't want to kind of go into the whole triskelion thing. That's a huge story, but just the triple spiral is a personal symbol of massive significance. And maybe we can do another podcast about you and I with that. But yeah, so this triskelion symbol came back to me, and there was it was very clear that there were actually 3 life purposes that I had chosen, and it came to me, artist, mother, and birth worker. And yeah, there was, I don't know, that just seemed so obvious, and that sat with me, resonated with me. And yeah, I just wanted to share this funny thing. Was with my obsessive compulsive disorder, I sometimes get thoughts that I can't get out of my head, repetitive songs. Or have I told you about the song?
No, not really. I don't think so.
So yeah, the whole time I had just these 2 lines from a Tenacious D song stuck in my head. And they would keep me up at night. I was exhausted, and you talk about meditation and your thoughts going, every time my thought drifted somewhere, it was just to these 2 lines. It was, look into my eyes and it's easy to see, 1 and 1 make 2, 2 and 1 make 3. It was destiny. Yeah. And that song just stressed me out so much, 2 a.m. and I was sitting in this little tent and just needing to sleep, and just having the song go over and over, just those lines over, not even the complete song. I tried to do the whole song to all right, now I'm complete. Let it go. I just kept coming back. But yeah, it wasn't until I'd done this drum journey on the last day, and that the next time that song came back to me, and I realized the words of it was
oh.
Yeah, that's what happened. I was
talking about 3,
and it was destiny. It was there's 3 destinies, there's 3 purposes, 3 life purposes, and I was holy shit, right. It's been there the whole time. In a Tenacious D song. But yeah, that was just this funny little thing. Oh my God. No, you did not. Yeah. I shared that with a big group of women, and they pissed themselves. It was, so I had a good laugh at myself then. But yeah, I don't know. Is that the story that you?
That's the story I was asking about. I feel like I kind of want to share little bits and pieces with. I feel like we're in a good place now, and I feel like we're on our way to a better place too. I feel like the decision to stop drinking has so much potency in it. It was and the way that we stuck to that, or me, I think you're probably all right with it anyway, but the way I stuck to it was making a list of my whys, why I was doing that. I'll put a link to that too. I've done that as a Medium article. But I wanted to ask you something about what you just shared, which is like wise Nana woman was like, there is no, it's up to you. You decide that, and then it's here are the three. So how do those two reconcile? What's that?
Well, I think those are the three things that I've chosen.
That you've chosen right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could choose different ones tomorrow, in theory.
I guess so. I kind of feel like, I mean, being a mother was never on my radar as a kid. I was never one of those kids that like played house or anything. I kind of assumed that I would get married and have kids one day because that's what you do, and never really questioned that. But it wasn't like a strong desire of mine. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm going to have 5 kids. But I do feel like there was some kind of divine hand at work. The conditions under which I fell pregnant at 17 kept me out of the army, joining the army. But it also like I really believe that getting pregnant was the best thing that could have happened to me, and she saved my life, because I was not in a good place at that time. Obviously wanted to join the army. Not a good place for anyone. Not a good place for me. Yeah, so, and once I had her, I recorded this little video message for my grandma, Mima, when Anna was just a couple of months old, saying like, I feel like I found my purpose in life, and I just want to have babies now for the rest of my life. Like that's what I want to do. Yeah, and she really was my world. I feel like, I guess all parents love their kids, or most parents love their kids, but it felt like it was a real calling on a different level to just love being a mum. It was like, no, I love being a mum.
I really love that about you.
How much I love being a mum.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks. But yeah, as far as the artist goes, like that's something that was always in me as a kid. That's the one thing that's kind of like oxygen for me. And I have had periods in my life where I've put my creativity aside and focused on other things, and I feel myself shrinking in the world when I do that. And that's very much who I am. I've had other interests and different potential career paths, and being creative, being an artist is the one thing that I always come back to. And if I had the choice of being successful in all the different possible careers that there are in the world, it's like, I just want to be a successful artist. That's it for me. And the birth work is interesting because I'm currently studying to be a midwife, and so it was interesting that that word came to me as birth worker, not midwife. And I'm still figuring out where I sit within that world.
That one's a bit of a can of worms, because the hospital system is not the type of birthing that you love and most want to support.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate to say. I don't want to be a hospital midwife. That's pretty clear. I first got into the degree kind of thinking, oh, maybe I can be the change that I want to see. Maybe I can be a different kind of midwife within the system, and be there for the types of women that would want a midwife like me rather than your mainstream hospital midwife. But I don't know. I've only had a few placement shifts in the birth suite itself. But yeah, just seeing kind of every woman on Synto and being monitored, and yeah, it's not what brings me joy, and I don't think that's the best version of myself, and I don't know that I can be the midwife I want to be within that system. So
do you know what that looks like at the moment, how that might go, that you being a birth worker currently studying to be a midwife?
Look, I don't know whether I graduate and then never register and be more of a doula. I've already done doula training, did that more than a decade ago. I don't, or whether I do the 5,000 hours and then go the independent midwifery way. But yeah, the idea of doing 3 full-time years working in the hospital system makes me kind of want to run away.
Did you just find out that you can do that with a private?
Yeah, apparently there's other ways, there's other options. So yeah, that's very exciting to me, that I might be able to do those hours with a private practicing midwife. So yeah, there's more for me to research there and find out what those alternative ways are. Because it is quite clear to me that I don't want to work in a hospital. Yeah.
And do you feel like these 3 aspects of yourself are in balance generally at the moment?
I think they kind of they shift as to which has the main focus. Obviously, being a mother is kind of a constant, but there's definitely times where I let you be the primary caregiver and I'm stuck in assignment world or placement world. But yeah, I guess certainly while the kids are little, if they needed me, that's everything else comes second to that. And it feels unsustainable to have other things be a priority for an extended period of time. Like I did 1 semester of full-time 4 subjects, and that nearly broke me mental health wise, and the kids really, I could see them suffering from that. Yeah, it was just mum's not here. Mum's not here, man.
And how about and while you eat the chocolate, the question I'm going to ask is how about having your studio back? But I thought, because this is a little insight into our lives as well, this is being recorded in the extension. The very first episode of the Unfinished Cubby was recorded in the Cubby house,
Mm-hmm.
and there was all this horrible background noise.
Mm.
So it occurred to me partway through this one that the heater's going, and that's what that background noise is. Sorry, I don't know what that's going to be like. I feel like we're getting
now
towards
brought
the
everyone's attention to it.
Yeah, I have no idea what it'll sound like on the thing. But anyway, yeah, there was all of this noise because the extension was being built.
Mm-hmm.
And
here we are in the extension.
Yeah. Which means that you have your studio back for the first time in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
2.5 years. No, 2 years exactly. I think it was 20.
Moved to Pinewood when we
Beginning
came
of
back
2019.
in Europe.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then you were there till August of 2019.
Yeah.
So how's it feel to have your studio back?
Oh, so good. It's still in the process of being set up. That's a long process. I've got a whole lot of crap under the house that needs to be sorted through. But I love that I've got a lot of empty shelves in there, which means things have got places to be put. But yeah, while I've got assignments due, it's being creative is a really awesome way of procrastinating on my assignments. So at least I'm productive in one way. Like I made a new ceremony rattle the other day instead of getting started on the assignment. But yeah, it's also the space where I can do my assignments, because my previous assignment was done in the kitchen. Like I bring all the textbooks out and kind of spread out there and then pack them up, and it wasn't super conducive to getting a lot of work done. But yeah, it's lovely to kind of have that space there where I can close the door and not be interrupted and go deep into research or making medicine rattles.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a break in the assignments, although I don't see one coming in the foreseeable future. Because I've got a lot of creative ideas and things that are kind of itching to be birthed, but don't have the time. Yeah. Or maybe that's just a limiting belief. And
I think once we're
totally make time.
Meditating every morning for a while, then we'll be so in flow that we're always just doing exactly what we should be doing.
That's probably going to be like a dominant thought for me in my meditation, is be like, I could be in the studio creating something right now. Stupid meditation.
I want to kind of wrap it up.
Cool.
Yeah. And you need to go do an all-nighter on your assignment. I'll set the alarm for 4:30.
Oh, really?
See you then. Yeah, we discussed it just before this podcast.
I don't remember that. Can I go to bed?
I think that would be, well, yeah. Anyway.
No, I can't.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for coming and talking to me.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's really nice to have you here.
The extension.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Cool.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hey, dog. Hey, you.
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm recording my first something?
I'm recording you because I thought this could be the outro to a podcast we could do together to talk about that thing that you sent me, that life experiment.
The life experiment?
What did you call it?
I was saying work-life balance of like doing uni.
Well, sure, that
assignments at
too.
the last minute.
But I watched that. I watched that YouTube video link that you sent me, and
Yes.
it's like completely like what I was experiencing yesterday. Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk to you about it, and I thought we could do a podcast episode talking together. What do you think?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, I'm gonna leave you alone now. I'll talk to you later.